The humble rats, look at it in all its low poly glory. Isn't it majestic? I know these rats might not seem very interesting at a first glance, but trust me on this. At the end of this rabbit hole, you'll understand why these rats are not only immensely important, but tell us a lot about Lunacid's lore. So, let's start small. Rats are a minor enemy that appear in the fetid mire, alongside some floors of the Tower of Abyss. They are non-hostile, and despite a popular rumor, they are unable to attack or harm the player in any way. These rats have a pretty simple behavior, for the most part. They run around randomly, but they have a preferred distance that they want the player to stay away from, and when the player doesn't respect this preferred distance, they run away from them. However, this behavior is pretty buggy. For example, when they aren't performing their running away behavior, they'll run towards you instead, and once they're near you, they'll resume their running away behavior, which means rats have this weird tendency to run towards the player and then away from them repeatedly. However, there's more to these little rats than you'd think. For example, for some reason, the game has a dynamic rat respawning system, patent pending. I call these rat nests. The fetid mire is full of rat nests. There are 2 in the regular region and 10 in the underworks. The game tries to keep at least 9 rats alive at all times. If less than 9 rats are alive, a new rat will respawn to take its place. This means that the fetid mire is the only area in the game that can never be fully out of enemies, because these rats will always be respawning at one of the 12 points. I find this immensely interesting because this implies that there were meant to be more enemies like the rats, more little critters that dynamically respawn. But no, this sort of dynamic respawning system was only ever used for the rats in the fetid mire and is not repurposed anywhere else in the game, which makes you wonder why so much effort was put into it. However, personally, I'm not gonna complain, as the dynamic rat respawn system is pretty amazing. As interesting as the regular rats are, however, there are other rat types in the game, 3 to be precise. Well, actually 4 if you count Quilol's rat transformation as a type of rat. The Rat King and Queens, which are found in the Underworks part of the fetid mire, and the Rat Lord, which is exclusive to the Tower of Abyss. All other rat types, including the basic rat, can also be found in the Tower of Abyss as regular enemies. The Rat Lord isn't very interesting, as it's just a simple reskin of the Rat Queen, but the Rat Queen itself is fairly interesting. It's essentially just a big rat that can attack. It has 2 attacks, a regular swipe that deals 20 damage and a poison swipe that deals 10 normal damage, but also poisons the player for a base duration of 8 seconds. Then there's the Rat King. Now, the Rat Kings themselves aren't the most interesting. They chase the player, and if you get caught in the center of them, they deal 8 continuous normal damage and inflict bleed. Every rat of the Rat King can be killed and inflicted status to individually, but this won't kill the Rat King by itself. However, what makes the Rat King super interesting is that Rat Kings actually exist. Now, gruesome but fascinating nature facts aside, there is a very strange rat phenomenon that can be observed in one part of the game, and I'd like to take a closer look at it with you. You see, at the bottom of this well lie a mysterious gang of rats known only as the Matryoshka rats, named after the Russian Matryoshka dolls. This name isn't official, nor is it anywhere in the game files, but Testaraxis calls them that, and I think that name fits. And you might be asking, why are these rats at the bottom of the well named after this Russian doll? Well, if you kill the 3 rats down here, 3 rat queens will spawn in their place to punish you for your crimes against ratkind. However, these queens have a special drop list when they die. You see, when they die, they will spawn either a rat king or another rat queen. There's no reward for doing any of this, by the way, it's just a cool thing you can do. Well, if you think killing a bunch of rats is cool, though, to each their own. The Dried Rat is an item exclusive to the Forsaken and Thief classes. The Forsaken can get it as their special gift of choice from Demi early on in the game, and since the Thief can obtain any of the class-specific items randomly as their special item, they can also obtain it. The Dried Rat doesn't make it clear what it does, and for the longest time I thought it didn't do anything. But this ain't true. The Dried Rat actually makes all rats *, non-hostile towards you. This means, for example, rats will no longer run away from you, rat kings will no longer run towards you, and that's it, actually. This item doesn't affect rat queens, nor does it affect the rat lord found in the Tower of Abyss. And it doesn't even work properly for the rat kings. You see, rat kings won't run towards you and try to attack you, but the problem is, rat kings don't have an attack. They just have a damage zone in their center, and this damage zone doesn't get deactivated if you have a dried rat, which is very stupid. It's also very odd that it doesn't affect the rat queens or rat lord. It'd be so cool if they also became non-hostile towards you, or at the very least were docile until you attack them. But no, they're the same as ever. I just want to be your friend, rat queen. Also, I wanted to add, the dried rat does not affect enemies in the Tower of Abyss. I'm not entirely sure why, I guess they're just immune to the dried rat's charms. This is entirely unrelated to anything, and I had no idea where to fit it in the video, so I'll say it here. For some reason, the Acts of Harming's description mentions the legendary weaponsmith who made it, Rat Kisser Wombi. Now, I don't know if this Wombi fella actually kissed rats, and if so, shame on him. But what I do know is that the name is based on the YouTuber Wombu. Wouldn't be the first time Wombu has been referenced in an Akuma Kira game, cough cough. Particularly, it's based on when Wombu played Lunacid for the first time. Kira noticed how the rats kept walking up to Wombu. This was likely confusing to Akuma Kira, who had programmed the rats to run away from the player. Though, as we discussed earlier, this behavior is bugged and doesn't work. So this was interpreted as the rats walking up to Wombu and giving him little rat kisses. Aww. Now, fun and games are over, because it's time for the part that I'm really excited to talk about. I was originally even gonna make a whole video about it, but while I wrote this video, I figured it'd be better to just have it be a small part of a larger video instead of a whole subject in itself. If you're an avid fan of Kira, you know him, you love him. That's right, baby, we're talking about the wicked king of rats, Sotius. Sotius is an odd bloke encountered in Kira's game Lost in Vivo, where he serves as the main antagonist of the Nezumi testing facility. Now, I won't be going in depth into Sotius' role in Lost in Vivo or any of Lost in Vivo's lore, because that's not what this video is about. But what is important is that Sotius likes rats. Like, he really likes rats. The entire area that he's in is entirely revolved around rats. The Nezumi testing facility is full of dead rats and these weird freakazoid rat monsters, and when you die to Sotius, instead of immediately getting a game over screen, your neck is snapped SVP style and a bunch of rats appear and crawl into your eyeballs. Probably a crazy party inside that skull of yours. Now, why am I mentioning this antagonist from Lost in Vivo? Because he's kinda into Lunacid, that's why. In one of Clive's stories, he directly name-calls the Wicked King of Rats. However, I'm not fully sure if this Sotius is the exact same as the Sotius from Lost in Vivo, or if this is some weird alternate universe parallel stuff where it's just a reference or coinky-dink. However, I do love how if this backstory is canonical to both universes, it actually explains pretty well how he ended up in the state that he is in Lost in Vivo. And it's one of many examples of Lunacid referencing or directly being tied to Lost in Vivo in some way. But honestly, whether or not it means anything or is just a fun Easter egg, it's always fun to speculate. As obscure and specific as this topic is, it does show how many awesome things and secrets are hidden in every corner of Lunacid. From the big to the small, this game is full of so many secrets and lore, and I just really wanted to discuss one of my favorite parts. And I don't have a primary source or screenshot of this, but according to the modder Tesseract, Akuma Kira isn't very happy with the way the rats turned out. And they wish the rats were more like Lost in Vivo's ambient cockroaches that you can interact with. I, on the other hand, think these little rats are incredible. Their odd behaviors and bugginess add so much life and flavor to the game, and they're very interesting to research and learn about, and equally as interesting to talk about. And, you know, I hope you enjoyed this little ride down rat lane. Anyways, I've got a package coming in the mail soon, and I want to be right by the door to pick it up. So I don't have any time to waste. Later, taters! Now it's time to thank my incredible patrons, namely Blue Phoenix 1, Psycho Skull, Skipatronic, and VG Ceiling Fan. You guys are absolutely amazing, and your support really has helped motivate me a lot to make these videos. And honestly, I'm really hoping to make more short little videos monthly. I really look forward to next time, and I hope you'll be there. Later, tater!